What is a dirty business tactic that you know and everyone should be aware of it? The you won a TV $5,000 base boat scams at car dealerships. Generally, you get a flyer in the mail that says scratch off X to see if you won. You always win the biggest prize, but when you read the fine print, you actually only win the right to spin some wheel or put your name in a box for a drawing. The employees' friends and family always actually get the boat TV cash. Your win is just a tactic to get you into the dealership. A fun thing to do is waste the manager's time. Go to the dealership, prize flyer in hand. Find a nice car, one with all of the options. Ask for every dealer ad on the offer and tell them you don't want to waste time negotiating. You have cash. Talk to the manager and keep going back to him or her. Insist on a test drive with the manager. Convince them you want to buy the car and get to the paperwork phase. Then, just before you sign, inform them that they haven't sold you a car. They've sold you on the idea of buying a car. Get the manager's card and tell them you'll be dropping their card in a hat with other dealership managers' cards. A card will be selected at random and that dealership manager will be notified by mail in 4 to 6 weeks. Let them know that the actual car you buy may not be the one used in your promotion. People lie about salary, starting pay, raises, etc. all the time. Learn to play hardball. For a multi-million-dollar company, another $20k is nothing. My office had a lockdown on raises over 3%, and going into an annual review I learned that my boss had lied and underpaid me for the starting position. He claimed they had a $60k budget for the position and couldn't exceed it. I found out the last person in the job got paid $75k. So I got an offer from a competitor for over double my current pay, knew they couldn't afford to lose me with the amount of work coming in, and slid my offer letter over to my boss during the review. They matched the offer, gave me a $10,000 bonus up front, and even cut me into a percentage of a business line. The meeting was awkward as heck, and it was difficult to do, but it's business. For a multi-million-dollar company, another $20k is nothing. For a company it might be nothing, but the department still has to keep it within the budget that they've been allocated by said multi-million-dollar company. I know a guy who does pest control who specializes in raccoon removal. He takes the raccoons from one house in one neighborhood, then takes and releases it in another neighborhood, then waits for the people there to reach out to him to remove the raccoon from their home. Sounds like the raccoon is the mastermind behind this. If you're buying a used car, or any car for that matter, the check engine light should temporarily come on when you start the vehicle. If it doesn't, the dash has been tampered with to mask a potential issue. I solve this by leaving my check engine light on all the time. Dish Network's door-to-door salesman will tell you that it's fine to use your parents' name and social security number for your account if your credit prevents you from getting service. This is not okay, it's identity theft. Record them and get them fired. That's not even a sales trick. That's illegal. I waited tables in a restaurant and one time I decided to pour a cup of soup into an empty bowl. A bowl of soup costs a good bit more than a cup of soup at the restaurant. The cup filled up the bowl to the top. Yeah, you see this a lot. I'm always suspicious when different sizes come with changes in width versus height instead of both. When my grandmother was in the hospital, her landscaper and handyman both contacted me to tell me she hadn't paid them and they'd been trying to reach her and on. I'd already paid both bills from her account, and when I questioned them, they remembered real quick. Hijacking Google business pages. Basically, if a Google business listing isn't claimed and controlled by a company, a competing company can weasel their way in and direct people to their business by, say, changing the phone number. There was an article recently about how drug counselors in the Philadelphia area had it happen to them. Their listing phone number was changed to an 800 number, which directed callers to an inpatient rehab facility in Florida. It was discovered when one of these counselors started noticing his patients suddenly not showing up. He called one of them and found out he was at this facility in Florida. In France it's hard to fire or lay off people, so when big companies need to clean house a bit, they move the office to a new location quite distant from the current one. In the process they reduce the office size from 50,000 seats to 30,000 because they've estimated that amount of people will resign rather than endure a 4-hour commute. But officially totally you still have your job if you want. We are not laying you off, but I need you in the office every day. or you could resign if you don't like the new location. Nestle did that, and apparently it's fairly common now for multinationals around Paris. I suspect they end up keeping a huge amount of deadwood, while valuable employees who can easily find another job in the same area do so. It seems really dumb, unless you just desperately need to trim employees and you don't care about quality. Fake claims of another house offer with zero contingencies. We were young, first-time home buyers. We found a house that we loved and was in our price range, albeit the high end of our range, but in there. Nonetheless, we entered into negotiations with the seller's agent. While my husband and I were thinking the counteroffer over, we received another call from our agent saying the seller's agent received an offer from someone with no contingencies. They could pay cash and sign that day. We knew we couldn't complete with that, and our agent urged us to rush over to her office to sign their counteroffer and hope they would accept it since we made our offer first. Of course they accepted, because there was no other offer. After all this went down, we were sharing our story with family and friends, and we came to realize the seller's agency plays this card frequently. I wish my husband and I had been in a better place to fight their tactics, but we were buying in a location that didn't have many good houses in our price range. 2 years later, and we are pleased with our home, just not our mortgage. Always count every single note when exchanging currency. It's so easy for vendors, particularly smaller ones, to short bills from a stack of 100 or 1000 and claim innocence when, if called out on it. Claiming innocence is really just a scummy tactic in and of itself, cause the victim is totally inclined to believe you. If they don't, they are in butthole. If you ever get a demonstration of a service from a company, they will always use their very best, most experienced staff, but once you've signed up you might find you've got the dregs that they couldn't foist on anyone else working for you. Big Four accounting at its finest. Send in the partners to show expertise and personality, then send in a herd of 22-year-olds to do the actual work. I worked in the collections department of Discover Card for a while. One thing they did, maybe still do, to lure customers to them is offer 0% APR for the first year. People would jump on this and transfer all their debt onto their new Discover card, and then the company would conveniently not send the first month's bill. In the fine print of the agreement, it states that if you miss even one payment in that first year, your APR will jump to 29.95%. Half of my calls were to these new customers who would then proceed to throw a fit because they didn't ever get the bill, and I had to explain to them that it was their job to know when the bill was due, and sending one was just a courtesy extended by the company. I hated that job. It ate away at my soul. In the US, the Federal Card Act in 2010 made it a requirement to send a bill 21 days before the due date. If this was after that, they weren't just being slimy but straight up illegal. Debt collectors will have detectives call you from a number that appears to be a legitimate law enforcement agency. When you Google it, it's actually a spoofed caller ID using a legitimate agency's fax number. The detective will threaten arrest and throw around names of local judges. The debt collector will claim to not know the detective who left the message, but will be willing to take care of your debt. In Nova Scotia, Canada, severance pay is paid on the average of your last 30 days of pay. This means that some companies will actually reduce your hours to minimum your last month with them if they are going to lay you off. Happened to me wife. She worked for this company for 5 years, worked 35 plus hours per week. Suddenly she wasn't getting shifts. Boom, layoff notice. Happened to other folks too. Call the Labour Board. IDK about in Nova Scotia, but here in Ontario that's illegal. Even if she quit because she wasn't getting enough hours due to them reducing it, she'd still be entitled to pay. They cannot reduce your hours by more than a certain percent each week. Can't remember the percent. Can tell you I have fought this and won. When I was in the process of moving into my current home, I transferred the title of my old home and land to my sister because she was buying it and moving in when I left. Within the next few weeks she started getting all the welcome to the neighborhood coupons and flyers. She didn't even change her address, so I assume companies track title changes with the Register of Deeds. The sketchiest was a pest control company claiming to have an existing account on the property and recommending she continue to use their services. They detailed dates and changes, referenced termites. It was all lies. All the dates shown were while I owned the property and I never even heard of this company before she received that letter. I feel like that one is one you should actually report to someone. Mattress stores that have the find it anywhere else for cheaper. You get your money back deal contract with the manufacturer to make the exact same model of bed, but with a model name specific to that store, so nobody can ever cash in on that deal. Mattress stores, the gurus of sleazy tactics. Buying a car from a buy here, pay here dealership. You put $500 or $1,000 down, they say you are approved and you drive the car home. 2 days later the dealership calls and says that they couldn't get you financed at the down payment and interest rate, so we need an additional $2,500 down and your interest rate doubles. If you don't have the extra money they take the car and your original down payment. This is in AZ. Maybe not dirty, but incompetent contractors will often weigh underbid jobs. So if you request a bunch of quotes, and all the bids are relatively close except for one that's way lower, there's roughly a 100% chance that guy will screw it up and you'll have a nightmare on your hands. Sometimes you get what you pay for. Also, FWTW, if a bid is high, it probably means they don't want the job. When finding a home for your elderly parents, set up an appointment but come in a few minutes early and say, "Don't ask if you can walk around for a quick look." The receptionist likely won't refuse you, and the salesperson won't be ready for you. These places like to show you only the stuff they want you to see when being led around by a salesperson. Chat with a resident or a staff member, they'll be the most honest with you. I did exactly this when looking for daycare for my kids. Showed up randomly one morning and asked if I could look around, without going into any rooms, just from the hallway. Yes, I told them why I was there. Yes, they took down my id. Yes, I agreed to have one of their staff walk with me. And yes, I did ask the room staff questions on my rounds. Offering insurance on anything that does not have the potential to be financially debilitating. Want to insure your DVD rental? Frick off. The closing down sale in the shop that never closes down. It's just in closing down sale mode continuously. I'm amazed shops are allowed to get away with this. Closing down sale until 5 PM. Grand reopening sale tomorrow at 9 AM. The three-tiered pricing approach, especially for things like roofing or basement waterproofing. The contractor starts with a ridiculously high-priced quote for way more stuff than you asked for, steps down to a more moderate quote of what you wanted with a few bells and whistles. Then the third quote is for what you requested. This gives you the illusion of choice and reduces sticker shock because although your requested absolute minimum service is really expensive, it's only half the cost of their recommended repairs. In high-end IT, vendors will often go dark in the months before a service contract renewal or infrastructure refresh is needed. The idea behind this is that the customer is forced to come to them, or they can come to the customer with little enough time to complete the refresh that they are either forced to make a purchase on bad footing for price negotiations or renew service agreements for an additional year at a higher rate while migrating to new gear. My school got an entirely new system for enrolling in classes and such, and we've been having a lot of problems with it. One of my teachers said the school has tried calling the company that installed it, and they've just disappeared. They can't even get a hold of this company at all. An older fellow I know had a bodega and he'd put a can of cream corn on the counter by the register. This was some time ago, so the van had a price tag of $17. He sold that can of cream corn to everyone who bought anything there. If they realized they were paying too much, he'd just say he thought that was their can of corn. Most people didn't notice though, and he sold that same can of cream corn maybe 20 times a day. My elementary school would host a fun day every year, where there were booths, games, activities, etc. They'd get the kids to help out with various small tasks too. One year when I was about 9, my task was to help sell the little potted geraniums, $0.25 each. Well, no one was buying any of them, so I had a brilliant idea. I made a new sign that said buy one for $1, get 3 free. Those little geraniums sold like hotcakes after that. I was so proud of myself I told the principal. He did not approve, though he let me do it anyway. It's a wonder I didn't turn into a little Gordon gecko. Probably only the boneritis kept it in check. Not sure if this fits, But if you are offered a raise for taking on new responsibilities, get it in writing. Just learned that the hard way. Been there myself. Manager promoted me, said pay raises will come soon based on performance, then suddenly he wasn't my manager anymore. No paper trail of the promotion or promised pay raises, but I was still stuck with the extra responsibility. When moving out of a rental apartment house, make sure to take lots of pictures and ask the owner landlord to do a walkthrough with you. Video the walkthrough. That way if they do not give you all your deposit back, you have something to take to court versus a he said which you generally lose. When you turn in cable internet equipment, make sure to get a full receipt showing what they took in on the date it was received. Scan this and email to a couple different email accounts. Comcast and others are bad about losing the equipment a couple years later, after you forget, and then billing you. Sire. Every month and every 4 weeks sound similar, but are different. Paying every month gets you 12 payments, every 4 weeks gets you 13. Giving someone a promotion just to get them back on a probationary period so they can be fired without cause or repercussion. Happened to my wife recently. They were able to twist some information to make her look bad enough to can, and with no risk of legal recourse because she was on probation with her new position. Wife said they did the exact same thing to someone within the past year. Guy won Employee of the Year, was promoted and promptly fired. That's when you report them to the Department of Labor, EOC and or Human Rights Commission in your state. Even if you don't prevail, it's a good thing to do because most people don't take these sorts of actions and the employer knows that and count on it. Real estate gurus who sell their courses online in downloadable digital format and say that we must buy now since they only have a few courses remaining and when they are gone, they are gone. How the frick do they run out of digital, downloadable courses? Do their computers run out of binary ones and zeros after so many downloads? Sounds stupid, but people fall for this ploy regularly. Watch the ever-changing price of pre-packaged food goods at most grocery stores. One day the price may seem to go down, but if you check the weight, it has also gone down. Snack foods do this constantly. I like buying these breaded frozen chicken breast fillets at my local grocery store. Been buying them for a long time. They were $11.99 CDN for 908 grams. 2 lbs. Last week they were $11.99 CDN for 750 grams, 1.65 lbs or 1 pound, 10 OZS. That product just went up 21% in price. I want to say it was a peanut butter company that did this. They redesigned their package to have the bump in the bottom bigger. They basically reduced the amount of peanut butter by like 10-20%, but the size of the jar stayed the same, so nobody noticed and it was still the same price as before. A locksmith I knew would rekey locks using old, worn down pins, which caused the locks to stop working prematurely without the pins being crisp. Eventually the lock jams or the key quits working. He would then await the inevitable call to replace them, rekey them with good pins, and be good to go. You could make an extra $65 a customer this way. We never did. I'm certified as a master locksmith, NLA and a lower, but we repaired a lot of locks this charlatan fixed. We complained to the NLA and a lower and got his bond status revoked. If you get a lock repaired and it doesn't feel as crisp as a new zipper when you put in the key that first time, they may have pulled this trick. Anyone who tells you that money is about to collapse and be useless and you need an investment in gold to protect yourself, but are then willing to sell you some of their precious and limited gold reserves for some of your soon-to-be worthless paper money, should not be listened to. I work with a lot of different body shops, and in my area the big thing to do is to enhance the damage to customers' cars. I don't mean they try and negotiate harder. I mean they actively create more damage to previously undamaged panels, usually in ways that don't affect the function and are hidden to the customer, in order to get the insurance company to pay them more money. In my area, while not every shop does this, I would say the honest ones are the minority, and it screws the customer over in the long run. The shop might promise that they will save you your deductible, but in the end you end up with a car that has unrepaired damage or you have to pay out of pocket if the insurance company catches the shop enhancing. And the sad thing is there is almost no way to know which shops do this when you pick a shop. If thou art in Sweden and want to start a company, don't pay for anything. It's totally free via Verksamtse and Skatteverket, and anyone that tries to make you pay for handling paperwork or something to do with the startup administration is probably a scam. This happened to my friend that lost about 2000 kr. Pitfalls in buying used sport tuner cars are many, but the most crooked is swapping bad engines and parts into a nice body car. Some sellers will spend money on a pristine used car, sell the high-end parts for a profit and swap a junk motor into the car. Always check matching VIN numbers from the head, manifold and on the car itself. If they don't match, buy at your own risk. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.